A black man walked into a luxury hotel in joggers, and they told him to leave. Elijah Trent walked into the Grand Horizon Hotel looking like the help. He had on joggers, a black tee, and scuffed sneakers, nothing fancy, just a duffel over one shoulder. The front desk clerk spotted him and flinched. Her smile dropped in real time. "Deliveries go through the back," she said loud, like he was invisible. Elijah didn't blink. "I'm here to check in." She blinked fast. "You're what?" Before he could answer again, a woman in a blazer cut through the lobby air like a knife. Melissa, the assistant manager, walked over, clipboard tight in hand like it was a badge. "Sir," she said, sharp and polite, "can I help you?" Elijah nodded. "Reservation, under Trent." Melissa scanned his clothes and shoes. "I'm sorry," she said flat. "We're at capacity tonight." Elijah calmly held out his ID. "Should still be in the system." She didn't look at the screen, didn't type anything, didn't even touch the keyboard. "Unfortunately, we're completely booked," she repeated. Elijah tilted his head. "That right?" The young desk clerk behind her whispered, "I thought the penthouse was open." Melissa shot him a look so cold he froze in mid-sentence. "Sir," she said, louder now, "we can't accommodate unconfirmed walk-ins. This is a private property. We reserve the right to—" "To discriminate?" Elijah said, still calm. Melissa ignored that, turned to the security desk. The guard stood up fast, radio strapped to his shoulder, ready to move. "I'm going to need you to leave the lobby," Melissa said, brushing her blazer straight. "Now." Elijah stared at her a long moment. "You sure about that?" "Very." The guard stepped forward, and Elijah smiled. He turned, walked out. Same pace, same calm, no drama, just him sliding out those glass doors like the whole thing meant nothing. Then he stopped, pulled out his phone, dialed one number. 3 words. "Turn the lights on." He slid the phone back in his pocket, looked up at the building that just tried to throw him out, and waited. Because this wasn't over. Not even close. Next morning, something was off. Staff showed up to find 2 black SUVs parked outside the hotel entrance. Preston stepped out, no luggage, no smiles, just a quiet tension that didn't match the normal morning brunch crowd. Melissa was already behind the front desk barking at a trainee about coffee placement when her radio buzzed. "Corporate just pulled in." She froze. "Corporate?" No notice, no heads up, just silence and then suits. The general manager, Wallace, came jogging in from the restaurant wing, tie crooked, breath short. "Why didn't anyone tell me we were getting inspected?" Before Melissa could answer, one of the suits walked straight past them without a word and headed for the conference room. Another followed with a tablet in hand, then a third. Then he stepped out. Elijah. Same man. Different energy. No joggers this time. He pulled up in a sharp black suit, clean fade, and a watch that probably cost more than everything behind that front desk. Melissa stared. Her lips parted, but no words came out. He didn't even look at her, just walked in, calm, composed, while Wallace's mouth hung open like he'd seen a ghost. Minutes later, hotel leadership was summoned to the ballroom. Every department head, every manager, every supervisor. No one knew why. The last person to walk in was Elijah. He stepped up to the mic like he owned the building. Because he did. "Good morning. Let's keep this short." Some folks still didn't recognize him. Others were putting the pieces together slowly. Melissa sat in the back row, quiet now, eyes locked. Elijah looked around. Calm. Direct. "Yesterday, I visited this hotel. Not as a CEO, not as a name on a plaque, just as a guest. I wanted to see how people were treated when no one's watching." The room shifted. "I came in dressed simple. Nothing flashy. No entourage. I didn't give my name. I just asked for my room." He paused. "And I was told to leave." Whispers stirred. Eyes bounced from one face to another. Elijah tapped the remote in his hand. The screen behind him lit up. Security footage played. There it was, Elijah at the desk, Melissa ignoring the computer, telling him they were booked, waving for security, the whole lobby watching. Melissa dropped her head. Elijah turned back to the room. That's how your team treats people who don't look the part. That's how your leadership makes decisions when no one's checking. You wear my name, my brand, and yesterday you embarrassed it. He looked straight at Melissa. You had a chance to do the right thing. You didn't. Silence thickened. But this isn't about me. This is about culture. And that culture changes today. The room was frozen. Wallace, the GM, was sweating through his dress shirt, trying not to twitch. Elijah didn't rush. He stood at the mic like time belonged to him. I didn't come here to embarrass anyone, but make no mistake, what happened yesterday wasn't just bad service. It was a mirror.
He turned slightly, letting the pause work. That mirror showed exactly how some of y'all treat people who don't look the way you expect, who don't dress the way you like, who walk in without trying to impress you. Eyes dropped all around the room. You see someone in joggers, and your first thought isn't, how can I help? It's, how do I get them out? Another pause. I built this hotel to feel different, safer, fairer. That's why I bought this chain in the first place. And yet here we are. Wallace raised a shaky hand. Mr. Trent, if I could just clarify, you had your chance yesterday. Elijah cut in, calm, controlled. When I walked in, your team didn't just fail me, they exposed the culture you created. He paused and smiled cold. You think yesterday was the first time? The screen behind him lit up again. Clips rolled from past weeks. An older black couple told to wait while others were helped first. A young woman in a hijab questioned twice about her card. A family turned away with a lie about no rooms, while rooms were still open. Elijah looked around the ballroom, calm, deadly clear. I've had my people reviewing footage for weeks. This hotel didn't know who was watching, but I did. Silence thickened. Melissa. She looked up, barely. He didn't yell, didn't smile, just said it straight. You told me yesterday, and I quote, people like me aren't your usual clientele. Is that your understanding of how luxury works? Her lips trembled. Mr. Trent, I didn't know who you were. That's the problem, Elijah said. You thought that made it okay. She looked around, desperate for help. Nobody moved. I gave you every chance to treat me like any other guest. You chose not to. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. Wallace cleared his throat. I can personally vouch for Melissa's. Wallace, Elijah interrupted again, turning to face him. You've been managing this location for, what, 8 years? Yes, sir. And how many complaints have come across your desk that you brushed off? I don't recall. You don't recall because you never logged them. A new slide flashed. Internal emails, disregarded messages, ignored warnings from junior staff. Elijah stepped down from the stage, walked slow, controlled. He stood in front of Melissa now. Some people think karma takes years. Sometimes it shows up the next morning. She nodded slowly, bracing for it. You're not fired, Elijah said. You're reassigned. Front desk trainee. You'll wear the gray vest, you'll answer to the new front desk manager, you'll learn what respect looks like. Whispers broke out around the room. Wallace? He stiffened. You're done here. Pack your things. Corporate will send someone to collect your badge. Wallace sat down slowly, defeated. Elijah turned back to the staff. This is not a punishment tour, he said. This is a reset. From now on, no one gets judged by their shoes, skin, accent, or bank balance. He looked around one last time. I walked in like a nobody, and you told me I didn't belong. But remember this. The man you ignore today might be the one signing your check tomorrow." And just like that, he was gone. Later that afternoon, the hotel lobby felt different. Melissa stood behind the front desk in a gray vest. No clipboard, no command. She smiled at guests now. Genuinely. Because she had to. Her new supervisor was a woman named Ramona. Been working front desks for 20 years. New names before faces. New patience before pride. Melissa followed her like a shadow. She watched how Ramona greeted everyone the same, whether they wore flip-flops or Ferragamo. "You missed his eyes," Ramona said after one check-in. "He was nervous. You ignored it." Melissa nodded. "I'll do better." "You will, or you'll leave." By 3 p.m., a new GM was already in place. Young, Latina, fierce resume. No tolerance for bias. First email said it plain. From now on, nobody checks a guest's shoes before their reservation. At a hotel staff dinner that Friday, the kitchen crew clapped for Marcus, the doorman. Turns out he was the only one who'd pulled Elijah aside that day. Warned him quietly before security showed up. Didn't judge. Just said, "Sir, you might want to come back with a different name. These folks don't always look past the clothes." Now, he wore a pin on his lapel. Employee of the quarter. Elijah sent him himself. That night back at HQ, Elijah sat in his office overlooking the city. Same duffel bag by the door. He flipped open his laptop and pulled up the internal report. 4 more hotels flagged for biased incidents. He didn't sigh. He didn't rage. He just made notes. One by one. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about change. 2 days later, Melissa clocked in early. No makeup, hair tied back, nervous hands. A couple stepped in, young, tattooed with backpacks and cheap luggage, looked around, unsure. Melissa walked up first. "Welcome to Grand Horizon," she said with a smile. "Can I help you check in?" The man hesitated. We're not sure if we're in the right place. Kind of upscale here." Melissa nodded. "If you've got a reservation, you're in the right place." He handed over his ID. She checked the system this time. Room 307, confirmed. Sometimes it just looked like a woman in a gray vest, typing a name she once overlooked, and meaning it when she said, "Enjoy your stay." A year later, Elijah was featured on the cover of Entrepreneur Weekly. Headline read, "The Billionaire Who Checks In Without a Name." The article didn't focus on money. It focused on culture. On how Elijah had turned his hotel empire into a testing ground for real equity. Each month, he visited one property. No warning, no spotlight. Just a hoodie, a bag, and a quiet check-in. And every time, someone made a choice. Not just about him, but about the kind of place they worked for. Back at Grand Horizon, Melissa was still on staff. She'd been promoted, slowly, earned it. And every time she trained a new hire, she told them one story. She told them the story of the day she turned away a man in joggers and learned power doesn't always walk in wearing a suit. Because the real lesson wasn't about Elijah. It was about what happens when judgment walks faster than kindness. It was about learning that the man you dismissed yesterday might be the one changing your future today. And the next time someone walks in looking out of place, you remember this. Maybe they own the place.